Dear 7th class students, today we will start Science chapter first, Nutrition in Plants. Before starting nutrition in plants, first we will discuss the definition nutrition. Nutrition, the process through which an organism obtains food and uses it called nutrition. That means plants how they are taking food and utilizing in their daily activities is known as a nutrition. According to this picture, here we have divided the organisms in two types. One is autotrophs and another is heterotrophs. Autotrophs are that organisms which are making their own food, and almost all green plants, they are making their own food during the photosynthesis process. They are known as autotrophs. So autotrophs example is only and only green plants. Second kind of organisms are heterotrophs. Heterotrophs who they cannot make their own food. They are dependent on others to get the food in their daily activities. So mostly animals, parasites and saprophytes are known as heterotrophs because they are dependent on others to get the food. Now we will see the type of nutrition. In the type of nutrition, first we will consider autotrophic nutrition. In the autotrophic nutrition, here auto and tropic, two words are there. In auto means food, auto means itself, and troph means related to the feeding, how they are getting food. So autotrophic nutrition is the mode of nutrition in which the organisms make their own food themselves, is called the autotrophic, and such organisms are called the autotrophs. And plants make their own food, they are hence example of autotrophs. Now we will see heterotrophic nutrition. According to heterotrophic, hetero means other and trophic means related to the food habits, how they are getting the food. So the most mode of nutrition in which animals and most other organisms depend directly or indirectly on the green plants for their food, they are known as that nutrition is known as a heterotrophic nutrition. And such organisms which are getting this kind of food, they are known as a heterotrophs, like parasites, saprophytes, decomposers. They are not making their own food, they are getting food from the other. Mostly they are getting food from the plants. Now I have told you the autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Next topic, autotrophic nutrition in the plants. Like all green plants, they are performing their they are making their own food during the photosynthesis process. So plants, whenever they are doing the photosynthesis activities, they are preparing their food, and to prepare the food, the leaves, that only doing activities. So leaves are known as food factors of the plant, and food making process is known as a photosynthesis. During photosynthesis process, water, mineral, carbon dioxide, chlorophyll and sunlight, these things are raw material. That means these things are essential for the photosynthesis process. After photosynthesis process, the energy for this process comes from the sun. During the process, glucose is formed and oxygen is released. This glucose is stored in the form of starch, and starch in the leaves indicates that occurrence of the photosynthesis. So autotrophic nutrition in the plants means during the photosynthesis process, plants leaves make their own food with the help of carbon dioxide, chlorophyll, water, minerals, sunlight, and then they will convert this raw material into the glucose and in the oxygen. Now you think only, if there is no photosynthesis process on the earth, the life is possible, because photosynthesis process is done by only the plants. So if plants will not do the photosynthesis process, there will be no growing of the plants, there will be no plant. So we are taking food from the plants, and heterotrophic organisms like heterotrophs, animals, parasites, saprophytes, they will not get their food, and they will slowly they will start dying. In this way, any kind of organisms will be not there on the earth if there will be no photosynthesis process. Now I will tell you the points related with the photosynthesis, means raw material, how that raw materials are used and converted. Now here given the minerals and water. Minerals and water that are absorbed from the soil through the roots and are carried to the leaves by stem and its branches through the vessel like which run like a pipe. Vessels like means how we have refills and that hollow inside. That vessels are there like that. We can say pipe like or pump like structures which will carry the waters and minerals upside, and that will go to the stem, and after that stem it will go to the leaves. So minerals and waters absorbed by the roots, and where roots are there, there is a vessel like structure which I have told you, that hollow refills pipe like structure which will take the water and minerals upside, means fetch water will fetch by the these vessels. After that, carbon dioxide, in the air carbon dioxide is present. That carbon dioxide will moves inside the stomata. Stomata is present upside and the downside, means upper side or underside. Mostly stomatas are present underside, some stomatas are present upper side. So from that stomata means tiny pores, holes on the leaf surface. From that pores, that is known as a stomata, carbon dioxide will enter, and the pores are surrounded by the guard cell, means that stomata which are known as the pores, there is guard cells, and guard cells, there is that guard cells will help to get the carbon dioxide. Stomatas are present, I have told you this, that stomatas are present both side. You can see this picture, it's a stomata picture, and it's open stomata. When single, we will consider single pore or single hole, that is known as a stoma, means singular word, that is a stoma, and stomatas many holes are there. From that stomata, carbon dioxide will enter, and from this stomata only oxygen will release during the photosynthesis process, and water will release by the transpiration. From here only you will see beside that hole, there you can see the half moon structure, bean like structure is present with the, you can see, and of the red arrow, that is known as a guard cell. Afterward, you will see the green pigment chlorophyll is present within the chloroplast, and chloroplasts are the structure in the plant cell. The raw material, carbon dioxide and water enter the green cell having chloroplast in the leaf. Means plants, they have plant cells, and that cells also known as a green cells which are present on the leaves. And there we can say one structure is present, that structure is known as a chloroplast, and chlorophyll is present within the chloroplast, that will use during the photosynthesis process. In next point, fifth point, sunlight is captured by the chlorophyll, and sunlight only, it is the energy, solar energy, which will convert the carbon dioxide and water into the food, and that will be in the form of glucose. Beside this glucose, oxygen also release, and glucose afterward, glucose is converted into starch, and starch is insoluble carbohydrates. Next point is there, sixth, because the synthesis of food occurs in the presence of sunlight, so it is known as a photosynthesis. Photo means light and synthesis means something will be combined, or we can say something will be prepared, and it is a unique process. Why it is known as a unique process? Because in this process solar energy is converted into the chemical energy. Chemical energy, why we will say there is will be chemical energy? Because raw material carbon dioxide, water, mineral, and sunlight, chlorophyll, these things will convert into the glucose and oxygen. That's why we will get the new products, that is known as a chemical energy. So these things, like mineral, carbon dioxide, green pigments, sunlight, these things are known as a raw material, and how, in which form they are moving inside the plant's leaves, I have told you. I think i hope that you have understood well. If still you are feeling somewhere problem, you are not getting understand the things, then you will send queries to me. I will make that things clear. Thank you. Now we will see the type of nutrition. In the type of nutrition, first we will consider autotrophic nutrition. In the autotrophic nutrition, here auto and trophic, two words are there. In auto means food, sorry, auto means itself, and troph means related to the feeding, how they are getting food. So autotrophic nutrition is the mode of nutrition in which the organisms make their own food themselves, is called the autotrophic, and such organisms are called the autotrophs, and plants make their own food, they are hence example of autotrophs. Now we will see heterotrophic nutrition. According to heterotrophic, hetero means other and trophic means related to the food habits, how they are getting the food. So the most mode of nutrition in which animals and most other organisms depend directly or indirectly on the green plants for their food, they are known as a, that nutrition is known as a heterotrophic nutrition, and such organisms which are getting this kind of food, they are known as a heterotrophs, like parasites, saprophytes, decomposers. They are not making their own food, they are getting food from the other, mostly they are getting food from the plants. Now I have told you the autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Next topic, autotrophic nutrition in the plants. Like all green plants, they are performing their, they are making their own food during the photosynthesis process. So plants, whenever they are doing the photosynthesis activities, they are preparing their food, and to prepare the food, the leaves, that only doing activities. So leaves are known as a food factors of the plant, and food making process is known as a photosynthesis. During photosynthesis process, water, mineral, carbon dioxide, chlorophyll, and sunlight, these things are raw material. That means these things are essential for the photosynthesis process. After photosynthesis process, the energy for this process comes from the sun. During the process, glucose is formed and oxygen is released. This glucose is stored in the form of starch, and starch in the leaves indicates that occurrence of the photosynthesis. So autotrophic nutrition in the plants means during the photosynthesis process, plants leaves make their own food with the help of carbon dioxide, chlorophyll, water, minerals, sunlight, and then they will convert this raw material into the glucose and in the oxygen. Now you think only, if there is no photosynthesis process on the earth, the life is possible because photosynthesis process is done by only the plants. So if plants will not do the photosynthesis process, there will be no growing of the plants, there will be no plant. So we are taking food from the plants, and heterotrophic organisms like heterotrophs, animals, parasites, saprophytes, they will not get their food and they will slowly they will start dying. In this way, any kind of organisms will be not there on the earth if there will be no photosynthesis process. Discuss about the synthesis of food other than carbohydrates. So carbohydrates means, here that word carbohydrates, I will tell you the meaning of carbohydrate. That is made by the carbon and hydrates. So here carbon is present, oxygen is present, and hydrogen is present. So carbohydrates are the component made by the carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, that is known as a carbohydrates. We learn that carbohydrates are synthesized by the plants through photosynthesis. And now question is there, do green plants make other components of food? One component they are making, that is known as a carbohydrates, that is form of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. Beside this, they have any other component during the photosynthesis they are preparing or synthesizing? So definitely protein. Here given carbohydrates and protein, these components are synthesized. First we will discuss carbohydrates, that made up of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. They are used to synthesize other component of food. Next is their protein. Protein are nitrogenous substance and they are made by the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen. In the carbohydrates, carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. In the protein, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen. There is a component that is known as a protein, and we can say protein are nitrogenous substance, and the nitrogenous substance are made up of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen. Now question is there that they are making, but from where that plant will get nitrogen? If we will consider in the air, nitrogen gas is 71% and 1% other gases, and oxygen is 28% present in the atmosphere. But that 71% nitrogen gas, that is a large amount of gas, plants are not able to take directly, because in the atmosphere nitrogen is present in the nitrogen gas in the gaseous form, and plants cannot absorb it in the form, in the gaseous form. So now question is there, the how they will get the nitrogen? So many processes there. First we will consider the nitrogen fixing bacteria. Nitrogen fixing bacteria present in the soil, and they are present in the root node of the leguminous plant, in the roots of pea plant, in the roots of soybean plant. When they will respire, they will release nitrogen into the soil, and then they will convert nitrogen into the usable form that plants can use, or we can say the soluble nitrogen that is absorbed by the plants. Usable form will be there, by the nitrogen fixing bacteria. That is not a nitrogen gas. We can say there will be the nitrogenous compound, that is soluble nitrogen, we can say. And plants naturally they will get a nitrogen from the soil, and they will, during photosynthesis process, we can say carbohydrates is there, and they will get protein by the nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon, and nitrogen they are getting from the soil. What happen when sometime repeatedly crops grow and nitrogen is not there in the soil? That time farmers they will add nitrogen. Farmers they will add a nitrogen, we can say in the form of fertilizers like urea, and that fertilizers which has a amount of nitrogen in the soil. So now, do you know about the plants have no chlorophyll synthesize their food? That topic we will do in the next video. In this video, if you have understood all things, then very good, you will read this. If still you have any problem, then you will remark that this problem we have, then I will. Hello students, in this video we will do the heterotrophic nutrition in the plants. First we have done the autotrophic nutrition. Here heterotrophic nutrition is there. Plants mostly they are making their own food. We can say that all green plants they are known as autotrophs. They are making their own food during the photosynthesis process. So some plants which are non-green plants and some organisms they are not able to make their own food and they are getting their food from others is known as a heterotrophic, or that organisms are known as a heterotrophs, and mode of nutrition will be heterotrophic nutrition. So here we will discuss the heterotrophic nutrition in the plants. These are some plants which do not have chlorophyll. That means non-green plants. They do not have chlorophyll. So without chlorophyll they are not able to make food. As you know, chlorophyll also essential condition for the photosynthesis process. So without chlorophyll they are not able to make their own food, and that's why such plants depend on food produced by the other plants to survive, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. So they show heterotrophic mode of nutrition. That means here we will say that non-green plants or which do not have chlorophyll, they are not able to make their own food and they are dependent on the other plants to get the foods to survive. So they show the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Plants that follow heterotrophic mode of nutrition are called the heterotrophic plant, or we can say heterotrophs. And some examples are parasitic plants, saprophytic plants, insectivorous plants, and symbiotic plants. They are known as a heterotrophic plants. Parasitic plant, saprophytic plant, insectivorous plants, and symbiotic plants. See that heterotrophic, first that heterotrophs depend on other. Further, heterotrophic plants has divided into the parasitic plants, saprophytic plants, insectivorous plant, and symbiotic plants. Now first we will see the parasitic plants. Parasitic plants, parasites, we will say parasites, the plants that partially or completely depend on other plants, that is host, for nutrition, that is known as a parasitic plant. So parasitic plants partially, maybe little, completely means completely, fully, partially little, completely fully depend on other plants. to get food or nutrition. That will known as a parasitic plant. Okay, so you have seen that that is a coscuta, and here in coscuta you will see that this only thread like structure. This thread like structure is known as a coscuta, or second name is dodder. When we will put in any plant, then they will start getting nutrients from the that plant on which they are existing, and slowly it will get completely food from the other plant, and other plant will get less growth, or we can say pale yellowish. Second example is sandalwood. Root of sandalwood tree are partially dependent, so it is known as a partially parasite. Coscuta is a completely parasite, and root of the sandalwood will be partially. So the yellow tubular structure twining around the stem of the branches is a plant called coscuta. Another name is a dodder. And coscuta does not have chlorophyll, yellowish color it has, completely parasite, because completely dependent on the host plant. And another example is a sandalwood. Sandalwood tree roots, we can say, that is also parasite, but it is partially parasite. So roots of the sandal tree will get the food or nutrients from the host plant little only. And in a parasite relationship, very important thing is there. In the parasitic relationship, only parasitic plants benefit and host plant will get a harm. This is very important thing, that in the parasitic relationship, only the parasitic plants will get the benefit, like coscuta, dodder and sandalwood, they will get benefit, and it harms the host plant. It harms the host plant means from where they will get, which plant, from which plant they will get food, they will not get proper growth, they will get a harm. Now here next topic है saprophytic plants. In the saprophytic plants, they obtain their nutrients from the dead and decay. Keep remember, the parasite partially or completely dependent on the other plants, and in the saprophytic plants, they obtain their nutrient from the dead and decaying plants, or we can say animal matter. These plants often have no leaves at all. They are non-green, or they do not have leaves. They are usually whitish or bright colored flowers. Whitish color, and they have bright colored flowers. Example is Indian pipe and coral roots. These are example of saprophytic plants, and the root of such plants contain fungi. Very important thing, that root of saprophytic plants contain the fungi, and the fungi converts dead and decay matter into the nutrients, and fungi also are heterotrophs. Again I am making you clearly the topic. Understand that roots of such plants contain fungi, and fungi will convert the dead and decay plant matter into the nutrients. So fungi is organism that is known as a saprotrophs. This is the example of Indian pipe. Whitish color is there, and the coral root you will see that is a brightly colored. Okay. After that, symbiotic plants. In the symbiotic plant, we will see there is symbiotic association. Association means living together. Some plants live in the association with other organisms in which both the partners mutually gain from each other. And this kind of association is called the symbiosis and such called symbiotic plants. So in the symbiotic plants, organisms or we can say plants will live together in the association, and that association name is known as a symbiosis. And in that plant, hello students, in this video we will do the symbiotic plants. Symbiotic plants have the symbiotic association means they are living together. Some plants live in association with other organisms in which both partners mutually gain from each other. Here, who are in the association, both will get the benefits. This kind of association is known as a symbiosis. Symbiosis means the association in which organisms mutually get the benefits from each other, and that kind of plants are known as a symbiotic plants. Now two examples are there. Certain fungi live in the root of the trees, and live on the trees. Fungi, you will see fungi are the non-green organisms, or sometimes we call it non-green plants. So they are not able to make the food. They live in the root of the tree, and the tree provide nutrients to the fungus. So nutrients by fungi will get the nutrients from the tree. They are living together, tree and fungi. In this way they will get the benefits. Both will get the benefits because from the tree they will get the nutrients, and in return fungus help in making the certain nutrients from the soil. Sometimes dead and decay matter is there, so fungi will decompose, and after decompose that components are easily used by the plants from the soil. So here example is there, mycorrhizal root, that is a good example of the symbiotic relationship. Now one another example, lichen. The lichen, we can say lichen or lichen. Lichen also have a symbiotic association, or we can say a symbiotic association name is lichen, in which algae, that is a chlorophyll containing partner, and fungus, which is a non-green plant we can say, or organism. When the algae and lichen live together, that symbiotic association will be known as a lichen. And from algae and fungus, how they will get food? Algae will prepare food because it has chlorophyll, and fungus will get food from the algae. And same way, algae provide food by the photosynthesis process, where fungus help providing the shelter to the algae. So algae helps to prepare food, or we can say fungus will get the food from the algae, and algae will get the shelter from the fungus. In this way, one will provide the food and other will provide the shelter, and the association is known as a lichen. That is known as a lichen. Association name is a lichen, and in association algae and fungus will be there. Next is insectivorous plant. In the insectivorous plants, very interesting thing, that few plants which have special adaptation that obtain nutrients from the small animals such as insects. That means they will get food from the insect, they will digest it, and these animals, or we can say organisms, are called the insectivorous plant.